I was 14 the night my parents vanished. Not ran away, not kidnapped, just gone, like someone erased them from the house while I was still inside it. Dinner plates set, lights on, security system armed, their phones dead, and me standing there, trying to understand why the silence suddenly felt like it was watching me. And just when I realized no one was coming back, headlights slid across the walls and stopped in our driveway because someone else had. I didn't move when the headlights stopped outside. I just stood there, staring at the door, while the light stretched across the floor toward my feet, like it was trying to reach me first. My heart beating slow and heavy instead of fast, because fear doesn't always feel loud. Sometimes it feels like listening, like your body knows something your mind hasn't caught up to yet. The engine outside went quiet, but the lights stayed on, and that felt worse because whoever was out there wanted me to know they had arrived. I glanced at the security panel on the wall, the backup battery humming softly, still armed, still watching, same as me. And then a car door shut, not slammed, just closed with careful pressure. Footsteps followed on the gravel, steady, measured, not someone lost or unsure, someone walking like they had already decided what would happen when the door opened. I told myself not to touch the handle, told myself to stay still and call someone, but my phone showed no signal again, like it had all night, and the nearest neighbor's house was too far down the road to see their lights. Another step outside, closer now, then 3 knocks, evenly spaced, calm, confident, the kind of knock that assumes it will be answered. My fingers tightened around my sleeve as I leaned closer to the frosted glass. A tall shape stood there, broad shoulders, dark coat, unmoving, not shifting weight, not checking a watch, just waiting like patience was part of his job. I should have pretended I wasn't home. I know that now. But something about the way he stood there made it feel like pretending would only delay whatever was already decided. So I slid the chain loose and opened the door a few inches. Cold air slipped inside first, sharp and metallic. Then his face came into view. Older, maybe late 40s, streaks of gray at his temples, expression calm in a way that didn't match the hour or the situation. His eyes moved over me once, quick and precise, like he was confirming a detail from memory. Then he said my name, not asking, not guessing, stating it, and hearing it from a stranger made my stomach tighten. I didn't answer right away. I just stared, because I had never seen him before, and I was sure I would have remembered someone like him. He noticed the hesitation and tilted his head slightly, not confused, just observant, like he was measuring my reaction instead of waiting for it. Then he said, "Your parents asked me to check on you while they're gone." His tone smooth, almost bored, but his eyes kept moving past me into the house, scanning corners, hallways, the staircase, the exits, and curiosity pushed against my fear because nothing about him felt accidental, not the timing, not the confidence, not the way he stood like he already understood the layout. I asked how he knew them. He smiled faintly and said, "We go back a long way," which wasn't really an answer, and before I could ask anything else, he reached into his coat and pulled out a small folded envelope and held it out to me between 2 fingers. "Your mother said to give you this if plans changed," he said, and something in my chest shifted when I heard that, because my mother didn't trust easily, especially not with me, and I hesitated before taking it, aware of how close he was standing, aware of how quiet the night had become, aware that curiosity was the only thing stronger than my fear in that moment. So I took the envelope slowly, and if you want to know what was inside and why it made my hands start shaking, stay with me and make sure you're subscribed, because this is where things stopped feeling normal. The envelope felt colder than the air outside. Thin paper, but heavy in my hand, like it already knew something I didn't. I glanced up once, and he was watching me with the same calm patience, not curious, not nervous, just certain, like whatever was inside had already done its job. My fingers slid under the fold, and I opened it slowly, careful not to tear it, as if neatness still mattered, as if my mother might somehow see whether I handled it properly. Her handwriting covered the page, small and precise, the way she labeled jars and wrote reminders on the fridge, and for a half-second relief tried to rise, because handwriting meant time, and time meant she hadn't left in panic. But then I read the first line, and the relief vanished so fast it almost hurt. If you are reading this, we could not come back when we said we would. My throat tightened. I kept reading. Do not trust anyone who says they are here for you, especially if they arrive after dark. The words seemed to darken the room around me. I felt him shift his weight slightly beside the door, close enough that I could hear the faint sound of his coat sleeve move, and I forced my eyes not to flick toward him, not to give away which sentence I was on. Memorize the number below, burn this letter, lock every door, and whatever you do, do not leave with them. My pulse began slamming so loudly it felt like it might speak for me. Because he had arrived after dark, he had said he was here for me, and he was standing less than 2 steps away, waiting. I folded the paper carefully, buying seconds, trying to make my hands look steady instead of scared. He asked what it said, voice mild, almost polite, and I heard myself answer, "Nothing important, just instructions." He studied my face the way someone studies a lock they're deciding how to open. Then he nodded once, like he had filed that reply somewhere useful. He stepped inside without asking, shoes silent on the floor, gaze moving across the room, measuring angles and distance, not looking at things, but assessing them. And that was when the truth settled cold in my stomach. He wasn't here to check on me. He was here for me. He turned back and gave a small smile that didn't reach his eyes and said, "You should pack a bag, essentials only. We shouldn't keep your parents waiting." And the shock wasn't that he said it. The shock was that part of me almost believed him. So if your instincts are starting to whisper the same warning mine did, stay with me and like and subscribe, because what happened next is where fear stopped being a feeling and became a decision, and you will not believe what I had to do after that moment when everything finally changed forever. I nodded like I agreed with him and turned toward the hallway, every step slow and careful so he wouldn't hear the panic trying to climb up my throat. My mind moving faster than my feet as I repeated the number from the letter over and over inside my head, afraid it would slip away if I stopped for even a second. I reached the bathroom and closed the door gently, not locked at first because I didn't want the click to sound loud. Then I turned it just enough to seal it, my hands shaking as I pulled my phone out and dialed the number from memory, pressing call and holding my breath while it rang. Once, twice, then a quiet click, and a woman's voice answered without greeting. I whispered my name, and she inhaled sharply like she had been waiting to hear it. She told me to listen carefully and not react to anything outside the door. She said the man in my house was not there to help me, that my parents had suspected him for weeks and left me the note in case he made his move. My chest tightened, but I stayed silent. She told me there was a small window behind me and asked if I could open it quietly. I turned and slid it up inch by inch, the frame creaking softly, but not enough to echo. Cold air spilled in across my arms. She told me when I climbed out, I needed to stay low along the wall until I saw headlights flash twice, then run and not look back. I wanted to ask who she was, but the floor creaked outside, and I heard his footsteps stop right at the door, not knocking, just standing there, listening. I whispered he was outside, and she said, "I know. Go now." I tucked the phone in my pocket, climbed onto the sink, pushed through the window, and dropped into the damp grass with a soft thud that sounded louder in my ears than it really was. I crouched and pressed myself against the wall, the cold air biting my skin while seconds stretched thin and fragile. Then, from the far end of the driveway, headlights blinked twice, quick and certain. I ran, not thinking anymore, just moving. The passenger door opened before I reached it, and a woman leaned across telling me to get in. I slid inside, and the car pulled away smoothly, and as we turned, I saw the front door of my house open and the man step out, not chasing, not shouting, just watching us leave like this had always been part of the plan. I stared forward while my breathing slowly steadied, and the woman said softly, "You did exactly what your parents hoped you would." And that was when it settled over me. They hadn't abandoned me. They had trusted me. They had prepared me. And sometimes the scariest night of your life is not proof that you were alone. It is proof that someone loved you enough to protect you even when they couldn't be there.